Hi, I'm Brian with LuckyStops.com, and you guys asked for it. We've got it now. Draw stops for the Realm SR6. So those of you that have used our product before and either bought a new Realm SR6 or have looked at the SR6s, realize that they've come out with a different draw stop from the factory. Our old draw stops for the Bowtechs will not work on the SR6 model, so we had to come up with a couple solutions, and pretty excited we came up with two. The first one being the A1, and the A1 is going to look pretty familiar to you guys because it's the same outside dimensions as the A4. It does the same thing as the A4, only it's threaded. It's got a hex in the counterbore in the front to assist when you tighten it, and it has a boss on the back to clear the ledge of the cam. The A1 will work in all the draw lengths from 25.5 to 30. The A1 has 4 sides. It has the short side, which is the same as the factory, and it has 3 longer sides. So you'll be able to decrease your draw length with it. You'll be able to increase your holding weight, and you can also play with just setting the stops at different locations and give you a completely different backside feel to the bow. The other stop it came up with, since we will not be having a continuation to that size, a B and a C and a D, is we came up with a slider. This is the S1, and the S1 will work from 27 inches to 30 inches. It will not work. It would go in these holes over here, but it is not worth spending your money on this stop because you won't have as much adjustment in the 25.5 to 26.5 inches. So the S1 again goes from 27 to 30. It's a slider. It's not your typical run-of-the-mill slider, as you can see. It has notches, teeth in the inside of it, and it has teeth on the nut so that we can make precise adjustments with this. We can know how far we're moving it. We can move it back to where it was. It's just a whole better system than having just a nut float around on an oval piece right here. So those teeth engage into that stop in various places. There's 16 different settings on this. There's 8 teeth, 8 spot for teeth to go here, and there's 2 different size sides. So there's a 1 dot side, which is the narrowest, and a 2 dot, which is a little wider. The 2 dots is in between each notch. So 1 notch on the 1 dot is the first step. The second step would be 2 dots, the first notch. The next step, longer step after that would be 1 dot with 2 notches. The next step after that would be 2 notches with 2 dots, and we continue on. You don't have to adjust it that way. You can just keep it on one side. When you feel you went too far, then you can flip it over and try and get the finer tune. So with the 16 stops or 16 spots in this acts the same as our from the A4 to the D4 did. It has all the same length settings. So this is going to be a installation video for the S1. If you want to see an installation video for the A1, I will have that in the description down below because the video will get kind of long if I do both of them, and if you've only purchased one, you really don't need to know anything about the other one. So again, I'll do a link for the A1 in a different video. The S1, the first thing we need to do is remove the factory stop. And with a word of caution with the SR6 is we do not ever want to long peg this, whether it be with the factory stop or one of our stops. All the stops should go into the same hole as the module is. So this particular bow is set up at 28 inches. So our stops will always go into 28 inches. This is a little different than what we were able to do before, but because of the design of this cam, we do not want to let that cam roll over any further than it already does. The bow already has close to 90% let off. I don't think you really want anymore. It will become completely unshootable. So basically we just pull out the old stop. It's a 3/32 Allen wrench. We want to remember where the stop was. Like I said, this is set up at 28 inches. I'll show you the original stop here in case you take this off and want to put it back on again. It has a hex on one side, and that hex on this stop should always face the cam. So it should go on that way. It would go on either way, but this side's really sharp and it's probably going to loosen up on you and start to bend, and you're going to have all kinds of troubles if you put this on backwards. But once you're buying our stops, I don't think you'll ever want to go back to the original. We're not going to use the original bolt. This is a brand new bow, and this is it's probably been sighted in, and that's it. And you can already see wear on the rubber of that stop. So I don't know how long these factory stops are going to last. I know if you've shot Bowtechs before, you know the rubber on their stops does not stay on there. These are a different rubber. It looks more like a polyurethane type of rubber, but I'm not a rubber expert, so don't know if it's going to last longer or be worse. So we get rid of that stop. Your S1 stop is going to come like this. And if you see that's on the one dot side and the first notch, that is the same as the factory setting of your bow. So if you're just looking for a little firmer wall, you don't really want to shorten your draw length or increase your holding weight, that's where you're going to be. The best way to do this is we do not want to lose that nut. I'm going to show you that nut, and it is, if you look at it, there's teeth only on half of it. Those teeth are always on the top side of the stop. So they're always on the top. That nut should always go in flush with the stop before you tighten it up. So that should always be flush. So the easiest way to install this without losing that nut is just back it up. Just keep your finger over that nut. My 4 fingers over the nut. Back the screw out. Screw goes in. Again, the hole that is for the module is set at, so we're at 28 inches, so we want to put the screw in 28. Then I can just hold the stop over that and just thread that in. Now we're not tight yet. The nut is on the bolt and the stop is there. We will never, as long as we don't change our draw length, we will never need to take that nut off of that bolt. We do all of our adjustments and keep that nut on that bolt. That's key to not losing that nut. I mean, that we don't want you out at a 3D shoot or target shooting somewhere or in your backyard and drop that nut, because you're probably not going to find it. So to tighten it down, we always want, like I said, want to make sure that nut is sitting flush to the stop before you ever apply any tightening with a wrench. So I can hold that nut in. The stop is lined up with this slot, with the edge right here. There's an edge in the back of that stop, and that all times out perfect so that that stop is not going to want to rotate on you. So we hold the nut in, we tighten it down. That right there, do the bottom one the same way. Put the 1 dot, this is your functional edge. That's the same as the factory. That is the same as the factory setting for that bow. The cable, this card represents how your cable will come up and hit that stop. There's no need to orientate the stop any direction. It's always going to follow this edge, and because of the curve at the different spots, it'll just hit different spot on that stop. So this is the cable that when that cam comes around, the stop's actually going to touch this cable. I will do a little more in-depth tuning type of video on this with more things we can do with these stops. This is just basically how to install it and how to adjust it, and then the other videos will be, one of the videos will be more what we can kind of expect to get out of it. It's different depending upon your draw length of the bow and the cam. Well, these are always for the SR6s, but the draw length makes a big difference on what you're gonna feel. But we will do a little video on that and talk about it. So to make an adjustment, we just loosen it up. Loosen that bolt up, just get those teeth disengaged. And what I did is I pulled that stop out. We can push it back. Now I didn't tighten that with a wrench yet, but it's engaged. We want to make sure the nut's teeth are always engaged into the stop before we tighten it. So I moved that two notches over. So I moved that stop 100 thousandths. So that is going to stop us before the factory stops would have stopped us. So it's going to increase our holding weight. It's going to shorten our draw length, things like that. And if you look, that's where we're going to stop now, where before we were stopping up in here. So if you can see, it's the same as making a bigger diameter stop. So the beauty of this system is that if I make an adjustment, you just saw me go back to factory in like 15 seconds. So let's say I'm really fine-tuning things and I've moved up 3 notches is where we were shooting, and I decide I want to go a little bit shorter, a little bit more holding weight, and I move it up another notch. So now I'm 4 notches away from the 1 dot side, and I go, oh, that's just a little bit too much. Is there something in between there? Because that was a 50 thousandths on a side move. Yes, there is something in between there. So what we do is we loosen it up, and we originally started at 3 notches from this side. We rotate the stop completely over, and we go back to 3 notches from the number 2 side on it. And the number 2 side, you see how I had to let that get that ledge lined up and snap back in there. Now, the number 2 side, if you can look, is thicker. This side's thicker than this side. And it's half the distance of each one of those teeth. So what we did is we went right in between the 1 dot side with 3 notches back and the 1 dot side with 4 notches back. This is the setting right in between that. So you did all that, end of the day, didn't like it, I want to go back to the first setting I was at. You had that wrote down, or you took a magic marker and you put on there exactly where you wanted it. You loosen it back up. That nut comes out to the top where the teeth are disengaged, and a little further so you can spin it. Put the 1 dot side to the functional side, and we go back 1, 2, 3. There are little hash marks on there also that'll help you and tighten it down, and that's right where you started the day. So we did that. We did three adjustments on that in like under a minute. So you can imagine how fast you can adjust this and get it right back where you were. So you're obviously going to do that for the top to bottom. The S1 offers everything the A1 does, plus more length. So if you need to go further and further, we want to go with the S1 as long as you're in the 30 to 27 inches. The S1 well, the other thing we can do with this, so we can do it with the A1 also, but the S1, we can really make one stop longer than the other. So we can extend this out quite a ways and hit like the top stop first or the bottom stop first. It's up to you, whatever you really like. And what that'll do for you is it can do two things. It can give you either a two bump thing where if you're pulling back, you can feel the first stop hit, and if you're a hinge shooter, you can execute your shot up into before you hit the second stop. This bow right here, it has a very bad lag to it when you go to let down. It's actually in the factory settings, it's at like 1.5 pounds or something like that it lags. So like if it takes, I'll give you numbers off, these will be in the A1 example and when we get into tuning it, but if it takes 8.3 pounds to get the bow drawn back to the stops and holding there, it won't start going forward until that poundage drops down to 6.7 pounds. And these are actual numbers at 29 inches on the bow. So you feel like you have to push the bow forward to make it go, and that's what your brain is telling you. You're really not. You're decreasing the weight of your hold, but it's very confusing for your brain to do. That's why a lot of people get afraid to let these down. It's the arrow's going to come out of the bow slower, not the arrow speed, but the length of the time it takes from when your release breaks off the string to when that arrow is fired is going to be longer when you have that delay. So by lengthening one of those out, we can get rid of a lot of that. We can maybe get that down to a 0.5 pound difference, or I think in with just using the A1, we can get it to 0.7 pounds or something. So it's not as bad. I know with this one, with my testing at 29 inches, I can get it out of there where you don't really feel it. We can't get the hump on the longer draw lengths where you feel that dump or the cam. Basically what's happening is that cam's going really fast before it hits the stop. And that's what you're feeling as the people are referring to it as a dump into the back wall. If you watch the cam speed, it goes really fast into it. I can't change that. We can hit one stop first and then it kind of cushions it a little bit, but it really doesn't take it out. So they're not going to do that for you. Yeah, that's the S1. Again, that'll only fit the Realm SR6. And from 30 inches to 27, the stops are available on the website at lucky-stops.com. You can also check your dealers. If your dealer does not have them, ask them why not. I mean, I'm easy to get a hold of. My contact information is all on the website. The rest of it's all right there. You can email me. I actually do answer my emails. Yeah, go to our website, check it out. We'll have other videos coming up. There's other stops. If you're not interested in SR6 but you're looking for something else, let me know. I'll try and make it work. But other than that, keep shooting.